part of that that's hard for authors is to understand that your work and your words are just as valuable as that. While that book
Mm-hmm.
has some cool history and maybe has some cool little pop outs and pull outs and stuff like that, like your story took you a long time to craft. And
Right.
there's part of you in every single story that you write.
Exactly.
And that's what
Exactly.
sets your stories apart from someone else's. So your stories and your words are worth money.
Welcome to Pros Talking Prose. This is Stacey, the overwhelmed and bogged down, and then we've got Troy, the world traveler, who just got back from
Oh,
seeing his father, or
Lord.
not father, your son, right? Participate in
Yes.
the Ironman.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Home
Very
just in time for
cool.
the flooding. So
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Perfect
perfect
timing.
timing. So yeah, and of course he's the dude, so he's in his dude sweater. It is not super chilly today, which is weird and surprising. It's kind of a weird warm right now, but kind of
It
liking that.
is.
But Troy and I have not talked for a couple weeks. Well, we've talked, but we haven't had our sit down talk for a couple weeks. So this is kind of like a catch up today. We're kind of catching up and getting things kind of organized for the onslaught of work that we've got coming our way. But I apologize for you guys not getting a podcast last week. I fell down on the job because Troy was not here to kind of hold my feet to the fire, and I got overwhelmed with work. So I just kind of like fell into a
Oh,
hole.
oh,
And then I think
yeah.
at
I
one point, I
mean,
think I texted you and I said something to the effect of
yeah, something about I need
I
a
need you to come back
check-in.
and be my body double because I'm like not getting
Yeah,
anything
you're like,
done.
I can't get anything done. And I'm like, oh my God, because I was feeling the same way. Because as much as I wanted to go see my son, be in this triathlon, and make
Hmm.
this trip that I promised. Here's the thing, like I promised this trip a long time
A
ago,
long time ago.
before all the
Hmm.
circumstances that are happening in my life were happening in my life at
I
this
think you
exact
promised to
moment.
do this. I think you promised to go visit him before you even planned your move, like before you even guys
Yeah.
thought of
Well,
moving.
before we even thought of buying a house, I mean, so I have like two trips in a row here that that I promised two of my children that I'm like, I am drowning here. Like I cannot take these trips, but I have to take these trips. And it
You
was a
have
good
to.
thing to relax. It was a good thing to
Yeah.
get away and relax, even though I did a lot of walking around it. I did not do a triathlon, but a few 15,000 step days chasing
Just
my
to
son
like
around.
chasing your son around.
Yeah, chasing my son around, doing things for him. I mean, there's a lot of logistics that go into a triathlon and doing all the things and all the support and stuff like that. So making sure his bike was where it needed to be, everything was where it needed to be, that he had all the stuff, everything was staged right, all that kind of stuff, that I intercepted him at various points to say, yeah, go you, and all that kind of stuff. So
That's
yeah, it was
awesome.
fun.
I'm
But
proud of
yeah,
him for doing that. That is quite an accomplishment to do a triathlon. Like that is an exceptionally like well thought out and well planned type of accomplishment. Like it takes a
hmm
lot of effort and there's a lot of moving. Oh my gosh, that totally plays into what we want to talk about today. Like there's just a lot of moving
yes.
pieces and
There's
there's a lot of things that have to happen and it's
Yeah, I think
amazing.
today's going to be a two-parter, right? And
Yeah.
and that ties into very well to part two because
Yeah.
I mean, he started planning this in January, which is why I planned for so long to go to it. He planned it
Right.
in January. He decided he was going to do this while he was deployed in Asia, by the way. So
Well, you
it
have to kind
wasn't
of plan
like,
it that far out. Like this is one of those things
yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
to do
it's kind
that.
of like he wants to do it again next year, and part of the reason he wants to do it again next year is the following year he knows he won't be able to because he'll be deployed in Asia or somewhere similar,
Again,
right?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
so he won't be able to do it beyond that. But like he decided in January to do this, and all the training and preparation that you have to do an event like this, especially for him, both of us are very similar in that swimming is not our favorite strong suit, as
Oh,
far as
you're not a
swimming a mile and a
fish?
half. I actually love to swim, but I don't want to swim a mile and a half and try to
It's a
do it
long
fast.
time.
I like to float in the ocean and just kind of lay there with the salt water, letting me, let
Let
me
you
be buoyant and all that kind of stuff.
a
Like I
buoyant
don't
Troy.
this
I just
swimming
picture
fast
you
thing
like
is like,
bobbing.
oh yeah, that's what I did in Hawaii. I would just swim out there and then I'd be just like float as long as I could. Then I'd swim back and then I'd be like, I was like just, I mean, I was swimming, but I was kind of lazy swimmer, really.
Yeah.
Um, and even though like when I was younger, I was lifeguard certified because I wanted to go do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I never did do. But anyway, but so I mean, I can swim, but like neither one of us are like, yay! Both of us are like running and biking. Oh yeah, we both love to
Yeah.
do that. But the swimming part was like, I was like, are you sure you want to swim that far? And he's like, yeah. He's like, no, but yeah, I want to do this thing. So, but it's actually pretty funny because he did super well on the swim because he just determined with all his planning and all his practice and stuff this year that that was someplace that he needed to work at. He knew he needed to work at it. And so by working at it, then he goes, well, I actually enjoyed the swim
Oh,
more than I
wow.
thought I would.
Oh, well,
So,
that's really
you
cool.
know, so
That's really
yeah,
cool.
it's,
Well, good for, like I said, good for him. I hope you told him I was proud of him. Like he doesn't know me, but I was like, it is really an accomplishment. That is really amazing. Really
yeah,
amazing.
he's a super amazing kid. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
proud of him. Thank you for his service. He's amazing. So, the other thing I wanted to, well, first and foremost, I mean, Troy and I, like today's been a series of unfortunate events. It's been kind of a weird, like the last couple days. Troy's computer kind of went kaput on him and he had to re-download his OS. And then today, just it seems like kind of a couple of my clients had some major emotional crises associated with their books. And so I felt like this would be a good time. This is part one of like what Troy and I wanted to talk about. But like we want you guys to understand and know that, and we joke about it, but it's pretty true. And this is true for, I could say probably anything except medical emergencies, that there is really no emergency when it comes to publishing. The publishing world, there it's full of those moving pieces and those logistic like those logistic, I call them cogs in the machine, and they're constantly moving, they're constantly changing, and there's just a lot of hands in the kitchen. And so and a lot of those hands you cannot control. So
Yep.
I think I learned really really early in this business that it's not worth getting too hung up on something not working exactly the way you think it will. And so
Oh
you can
yeah.
plan, but plan also for hiccups. And I think that's just a really good rule of thumb in this business, because there are just too many variables, too many things out of your control. So I know Troy, you've been in this business a lot longer than I
Oh,
have, but
yeah.
it's been something I've noticed from the very get-go. Like it's just not worth getting too hung
Well,
up
and
on stuff.
like, okay, so there are deadlines, especially when
Mm-hmm.
you're more in the traditional publishing world. But realistically, if you, barring extreme circumstances,
Right.
you can meet reasonable deadlines.
Right.
Like, for the most part, a publisher is not going to set an unreasonable deadline for you. And part of the reason is because publishers, even more so than authors, understand, and as you become an independent author, you become a publisher, at least of your own stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to understand that there are pieces of this puzzle that you cannot control. So you set deadlines with the reasonable thing of, if anything, even if a big disaster of some sort happens, I can probably still meet that deadline, you
Right.
know so you don't set unreasonable deadline. At least most people don't. Now I've heard the horror stories of people who set up pre-orders on Amazon and then don't make it, and then Amazon takes away their ability to do pre-orders. But I mean, honestly, that's not the end of the world. For a
It
long
really,
time
yeah,
we
and
couldn't do pre-orders. They did not even exist. It wasn't even possible. So
yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah,
And
It's
it's one
on.
of those things too where I've kind of gotten a little bit more willing and a little more preachy about teaching my clients to be patient with the whole
Hmm.
process in the first place too, because really beyond when you're uploading anything and things, just like there's always the, like I said, the multiple platforms, the multiple pieces that have to fall into place that often get glitchy,
Hmm.
and just they don't sync up. Like Barnes and Noble isn't going to see like in real time the upload that you just did in Amazon or Ingram Spark. It takes, there is time that has to pass and syncing that has to happen, and so you kind of have to just let those things happen, and then you have to let the, the robots, get all the pages matched up, and the sales pages to come together, and you just have to be patient with all of that. But aside from all of those things, you also should be patient with understanding and knowing yourself. As creatives, we all kind of put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and deadlines, like Troy said, we usually set reasonable deadlines for a very specific reason, and that's just to be accountable to ourselves. But
Hmm.
I don't know too many publishers. I mean, I've worked with a couple of them. I don't have a vast, experience with major, like the top, the big five or anything, but I would imagine that if they've made a deal with with an author, and there is like a 1 or 2 day like glitch, there's no reason to panic. Usually if you're communicative with anybody, including your boss or anybody, your
Hmm.
spouse, whoever, as long as you communicate and you are like, hey, listen, this is what's going on, everybody's pretty understanding. Like everybody's pretty willing to be like, unless you're kind of somebody who's perpetually screwing somebody else and then they get irritated with you. But for the most part, we're pretty
Yeah.
understanding individuals. And I say that because I often have to make that apology email out to my authors and let them know that I'm like running a little bit late. My son had a crisis, my daughter, my dog, my, like whatever, like
Yeah.
life happens to all of us. And so sometimes those reasonable expectations that we set for ourselves, they're still in place, but things sometimes get in the way. But as long as we communicate those things to each
Well,
other, we won't, there's no reason to
right.
panic.
And having worked inside of publishing, inside publishers, typically so we have a release date that's set for you, and that is pretty
Right.
much set in stone because there's a lot of things that are going on. But
Right.
typically, we're going to plan to have your final book, final edits, formatting, everything finished
Months in
at
advance.
least a few months in advance, if
Yeah.
not longer. And the reason for that is then it's easy for us to hit that deadline because everything is already in place.
Right.
So if you're 2 days late getting something back to your editor, that's not a problem. Now, if you're 30 days late,
That can throw people off. Yeah.
then
That
we
can throw things
start
off.
we start having problems because it interferes with the editor also has other books behind yours. They have a workflow. They have things set up to have a system that works,
Right.
right? And so if you are throwing a wrench in that system, especially if you're an author that's doing that consistently, you can expect to have some consequences from your publisher. But
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, if you have a couple days delay because your computer crashed or whatever, okay, that's fine. That's something that we can deal with on a normal, under normal circumstances. And I always describe it, and this is funny because the last few days, like the last few weeks, well, several weeks for me have been crazy. So when I do sit down at my desk to work, I need everything to just work. And
Right.
yesterday, that did not happen. And so the guy that is preaching to people all the time that there are no emergencies in publishing was panicking as if there was an emergency in publishing because
But
I'm like,
in your defense, because this coming from a woman who had to actually have, I had that kind of emergency one year. I could tell that story. It's so funny, but I look back at that now and it's hilarious. But I get it. Like your computer crashing, that's like oh my gosh, the
yeah,
whole world is on that computer.
the
So
whole world is
yeah.
going to end, and I mean,
Right.
truthfully, like it wasn't going to. Like I have another laptop behind me that works in my,
In
sound
the
studio, and
cloud.
it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as powerful. It's gonna create some efficiency problems, but it's going to work. Like I'm going to
Right.
survive. Everything's going to, there were other things that I had to do. Like I could record an audiobook while I was doing this other thing with this computer. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there were things that I could do to make that time at least do something for me.
Right,
Right.
right.
But still, it felt like I have so much to do. This is an emergency. I need this fixed right now.
Right.
Now, I mean, but and I mean, I've had other times in publishing where it felt exactly the same way. But the truth be told, like I always tell people, we're not transporting organs. There's no one on a surgical table in an OR waiting for this liver to save their life or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's just
It's not like
that's
that.
not what's happening. It's not a
No.
life-threatening situation. So, when we say there's no emergencies in publishing, what we mean is relax a little bit. Now, there are problems with authors that are chronic procrastinators or
Yeah.
chronic deadline
Yeah.
missers. One of the
I
interviews
haven't
that I
had
did,
too
it will
many
be
of
on
those.
YouTube really soon with Jim Lambert, but it's really funny. My friend Jim Lambert, not related, maybe. That's another long story. We might be related through our moms, not through our dads, where we share the name with. But anyway, which is
Wow.
really weird still. But anyway, but the truth be told is like I was talking to him in an interview, and I interviewed him talking about deadlines. He said, I don't like external deadlines. And I'm not super good at following them unless there's serious consequences. And I don't like internal deadlines that I set for myself because I can always make a reasonable reason why I didn't meet that deadline.
Mm.
Right. So it's a problem if you don't respond to external or internal deadlines as an author, you are going to have issues, and that may create a publishing emergency where you really have to pull something out really quickly because you've run out of time,
Right,
right? For
right.
something like that.
Mhm.
Right. But I mean, realistically, if you're being a fairly responsible human and you're following deadlines at least somewhat, well, then you're not going to struggle overly much in this industry, you
Right,
know, because there are no emergencies. A couple days here or there is really not going to kill anything. It's really
right,
not going to, for the most part, it's not going to cause a great deal of trouble.
right.
So it's pretty funny, and I like that you brought up that we needed to talk about this because there are kind of like when we're going to talk about in our second half, there are a lot of moving pieces to putting together a book
Yeah.
and to publishing things and to making things work in this industry. It's much more complex than people think it is. And
Yeah.
so, there are so many of those moving pieces that you really need to try to relax through the process,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just let things happen as they happen. It comes to mind the guy that I'm doing an audiobook for now, like I thought about when we were starting this audiobook, I thought, you know what? It's almost Christmas time. We should have done his Christmas book. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, there is
We wouldn't have
absolutely
been able
no
to drop
way
it in time.
that
Yeah.
Audible is going to approve that audiobook in time for it actually
Mm-hmm.
to be on sale for Christmas. We need to plan for that next year.
Next year. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was too late this year. By the time even October, well, actually, it was November that rolled around when we were starting to do the recording. Like, even if I had recorded it as quickly as I possibly could and had it 100% done and wasn't still in the editing process right now, it still would not have been out in time to roll into Christmas because there's no way Audible and the other audio
Yeah.
retailers are going to process the file fast enough. And literally, no matter what we did at that particular point, there was absolutely no way to make that happen for him because those parts are out of our control.
Right.
We can give
And
him a cover,
so
we can give him audio, all that kind of stuff, but we can't
exactly.
push it through the system any faster, you know?
Exactly. So that's a really good segue. So while we're saying on one hand there's no emergencies, let's move into this appreciation side of this thing. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about last week while I didn't have you, and I'm glad that I have you now to kind of like have the feedback on this, is that the appreciation for books in particular. And I'm going to bring this up because I got a really great book in the mail from a client of mine, this book. It's called Veritas Noir. Isn't that a great cover? They did such a
That
good
is actually
job.
pretty cool.
So this was published by Veritas Entertainment, and it's an anthology, and it's really it's it's pretty. I mean, it's a big. I mean, this is an eight. I think this is an 8.5 by 11. Like they just made this a big book, and which kind of surprised me. But I guess it's kind of nice. And then it's of course it's a soft touch matte cover, hardcover, and then my one of my clients, Tyler, he signed it for me. And his story got in here. And so the reason I'm bringing this story up is like for a couple reasons. One, the appreciation for books. Like I appreciate the art that went into this. I appreciate the organization that it takes to get all these authors in here at the same time. The actual formatting, um, putting this together, making sure that everything's organized in terms of like, I mean, they not only have the organization of the book itself, but they had to like one of the things that I like to always pay attention to is they had a photographer who was credited for this. And then I always go to the copyright page because I'm that nerd. And you know what's
Mhm.
funny is I don't think that this one has one, which is really odd to me. But I'm going to look and make
Well,
sure.
maybe not. If it was
Oh, it
a
has one.
special edition for like a Kickstarter or something,
No, it has
sometimes they
one.
don't. But
Yeah,
um
but it does. It's
yeah,
just a
still.
generic
Yeah.
one. And it's okay. It's just the generic. Like there's nothing special about it. There's a few things that I would have done different because I'm a little stickler for, those copyright
Hmm.
rules and laws and things like that. But it's a small press, so I'm noticing kind of some trends with small presses. They don't usually tend to be as sticky as I am about things. But it's fine. But the amount of time that it takes to make sure that the photographs are coded, that they match, that they line up, the formatting itself is always just something that I always appreciate. I always appreciate, the little blurbs that are written for each of the authors and what the way they come in. Acknowledgments, I love acknowledgments pages because of that other reason. You get to hear an author give their, by the way, if you're an author that skips an acknowledgments page, shame on you, because we know how many people are involved in putting a book together, and you should be saying thank you to those people. There are your family members, your beta readers, your friends that you've talked their ear off about your book. Like all of those people should be acknowledged. You should be letting them know how much you appreciate their support, whether it be emotional, financial, or whatever, um, to help you be the author you are. But anyway, that being said, the reason I'm bringing this up is not just to kind of point out the fun nuances of book making and manufacturing, but there was a fun little, and this is like a nice little fun blip. I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago when this dropped. And it was from Tyler's wife who manages all his marketing. And she's laughing. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Stacey, this is so funny. And I think this is great. And I think this is this and this is this." But Tyler is panicking and he's afraid he's going to get sued and he's going to get fired and he's going to like she's just like, but she is laughing. And I can just picture Tyler in the background just pacing. Like, so Tyler, just for everybody's TG Brown, is a real live working detective in his department. Okay, so he is a criminal, like he is a criminal taker downer, like in real life, So good guy, like he's a good guy, and I really, really love him. He's a really sweet, sweet individual, and I know that he just does a very good job for the precincts and the lawyers and even the criminals that he handles and deals with. But anyway, he writes stories that are a little hard boiled and a little bit noir and a little bit dirty. And, he's kind of, it seems to be the thing with detectives. They write about what they know, right? And he's writing about this. And in that process, there's always notes that go back and forth between editors and writers, right? We're like, we'll say, hey, do you think this is a little more realistic if we say it this way, or is this really the way it works? And when he's a lawman and I'm not, and I'm just a true crime nut, and I see things on TV, and I hear things on podcasts and crime news, it doesn't mean I really know the way things work. So oftentimes I'll make a comment or I'll ask a question to the man who really deals in it, right? And so I made a comment. I asked him a question at the end of the short story that he was submitting to Veritas. And I asked a question about this particular client or this particular character and whether it would really happen this way, or if he would actually have Mirandized this bad guy before, interrogating him, or what, like I was asking him a question about like the realism that he was writing. And my little note started, question, Mr. Lawman. And then I asked them the question. And then he answered, and he's like, yeah. And so just I'll read what he said. I said, if he was Mirandized, this is my question, would he still have access to public defender, wouldn't he? So are we walking the line of fiction here, or I want to make sure that, as a detective, like this, if this is real, and like, we want to make sure that we're walking the realism line here. That's kind of like the gist of my question. And he answers, yeah, he'd have access, but what Warren is doing in the scene is bluffing him. It's kind of like a poker game where cops and detectives will feign compliance, encouraging them to seek legal representation. But it's also a bit of reverse psychology. Oftentimes, when we encourage something to someone, they decide not to do it, especially suspects. Like, it's a suspect, like they suspect a trap or something. So on the surface, it looks like we're giving them every chance to request a lawyer or stop speaking with us, knowing that they will likely not do that. At the end of the day, a smart suspect will request a lawyer and stop talking. But Lozen is not that type of criminal. He's a low life. LOL. Hope that makes sense. Now, that was the notes we had back and forth. In the margin, wasn't meant to go to publishing, but when he submitted the notes, or when he submitted the manuscript to Veritas, whoever their editor was, they didn't pay attention to the fact that was
just left it
a margin note. And I had actually offered Tyler, like, can I clean that up for you before you send that on? He's like, no, it's fine. And he sent it on. But I thought, okay, well, whoever he's sending it to is going to see that that's just a margin note. But they didn't. And they published the book with the note in the book. So I've got question, Mr. Lawman, at the end of the story. And my question and his answer is at the end. Now, Tyler panicked.
But you know what? That's actually pretty cool.
I know, that's where Ashley was. Let's like Ashley was like, this is kind of a cute little like insight into the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's funny to the rest of us because we're like, but poor Tyler, he was like, am I going to get in trouble because now I've just disclosed? And I'm like, no, we all know cops lie.
We
Like,
all
it's
know
part
that.
of the, we all
We all know
know
that.
it's
That's part of
fine.
the deal.
It's part of
That
what
is
they
part of the
do.
deal.
That's how they get their guys. But it was funny to me. So like, no, there's no emergency in publishing. Did they need to go back to Veritas and say, oh my gosh, pull all those books, this is a mistake, it shouldn't be in there?
Oh no.
No, I mean, it really, like Ashley and like me and like what Troy are saying is, it's kind of like a fun little like extra that
It's actually pretty neat that it
yeah,
actually made its way in there. I mean, I see how the editor left that in there, thinking maybe that was just him leaving a humorous author
yeah,
note
like a little
at the
note.
end of the story. I mean, because
Yeah.
authors do that
Mm-hmm.
in anthologies and things like that. And I mean, so,
Yeah.
and like speaking of anthologies, like, so it is complicated to put together a book of any type. I
Right.
mean, they're just, as you know, the cover, the formatting, all that kind of stuff. But anthologies are especially challenging because
You're
working with
juggling
authors,
multiple cats.
well, yeah, working with authors is like herding cats anyway. And these
Right.
ones are feral. I mean, some of them are feral. And so it's like, they're off looking for mice in the barn and you're like, "Hey, hey, back over here, back over here." But anyway, so we put together True Pulp this year and I just happened to have it on my desk. So I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
because this is really cool because first of all, Stacey did our cover. Fantastic cover.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And there's two editions of the cover. Obviously, I don't have the other one right in
I
front of
liked
me.
the other. Oh, I might
Um,
have it. Hold on. I have it. No, nope. This is the one.
that's the hardcover. Yep.
That's the
The
hardcover.
hardcover's on my other desk, so I'm like, anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
there's another one we did for
for the retail edition.
for the retail edition. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, putting it together is challenging. And so I have mad respect for Veritas for putting that together. And
Yeah.
like our special edition one that's the hardcover is absolutely fabulous. I mean, it's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's like it's a ton of work to put together any book
It
and
really
format
is.
it with all the authors' names, all their bios, all their images, all of that type of stuff that you want to
Mm-hmm.
gather from each individual author. So, when you hold a book in your hand, a physical book in your hand, it really is the sum of a whole bunch of, even the ebooks. But I mean, when you hold a physical book, especially in your hand, it's the sum of a whole team of people working together
Mm-hmm.
to bring that thing together. It's actually just amazing. And so, if you are an author and you feel like, oh, I worked so hard and I wrote this book and I finally got it published, and here's this thing, and it's really just not selling as much as I'd like, or whatever the case may be, what I would tell you is to take a step back and take a breath back and realize how difficult it was to just get it published and out into the world.
Right.
I mean,
You
just
just
that
you
is an
just
amazing
finished
act.
you just finished a triathlon. Like
Yeah.
that's where this thing comes with your son. Like it just you have to understand how many things had to happen for any of these books on my shelf. For those of us who are book dragons that just love to collect these books and just put them on our shelf, like the appreciation for what goes into those. I will often stop into a Costco or like wherever I'm at, wherever and at this time of year they're selling all their books and everything, and it blows my mind sometimes to see some of the books that they're selling at these like just like horrible cheap prices, right? Like I'm like, what are
Hmm.
we doing? Like it's like, how do our authors compete with this? Like it's insane. But for example, there was a
Hmm.
beautiful book and I almost bought it because it was just a cool, I mean, I might still just go over there and go get it, but it was a really cool book about Chanel, the designer. And it was like kind of like it was like a scrapbook. So when you open it up, there's all these little pop-up pieces and pieces that you pull out and fabric samples and like little lifted windows. And like it was like grabbing somebody's designer book that they just like throw samples in or whatever. It was really, really cool. And it had a lot of the history of Chanel and like all the designers and everything involved. And it was beautifully done. It was beautiful. It was $23. And I was looking at that
Oh,
book going,
man.
it the paper alone on this book is more than $23. Like it was cardstock paper inside there. Like, and I'm like, what? So I know what happened. I
Oh,
know what happened. They went to a printer.
yep.
The printer printed 4 million books for this publisher, and they distribute them out to all the Costco's across the nation, and they're selling them dirt cheap because they got those printed for like $6 a book, and they're thinking $23 is a good profit. But they had to invest like how many tens of thousands of dollars to print that many books in one go.
Right.
That's a lot of
And
money.
had to make an assumption, especially with a nonfiction book like that. Having had a nonfiction publisher, like I know the dilemma here of all the things, is you have to make an assumption that those books that somebody is going to be interested in that and somebody is going to buy those
Somebody's
books.
going to buy those books.
And
Mm-hmm.
so getting them into Costco is one way to assure that at least you've got this wide distribution. But the other aspect of it is that it's very possible, like Costco and some of the other retailers will sell books as a loss leader. They know that
Mm-hmm.
that book will get you in, and you will go buy 17 jars, 5 gallon jars of mayonnaise for your upcoming family get together while
Right.
you're at the Costco and buy the book. And so they have things that are cheap, but
Mm-hmm.
that they know are cheap, but they also know they'll make that up from you. You're going to buy other
You're going to
things as
buy
you go
other
throughout
things
the
in that
store.
store. Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
there's a good chance that Costco got a good deal on those books as well. The publisher got a good deal from their printer, and everybody's making a little bit of money
A
on that
little bit of
thing.
money.
Not very much, a
Yeah.
little bit of money on that thing. But here's the other part of that that's hard for authors is to understand that your work and your words are just as valuable as that. While that book
Mm-hmm.
has some cool history and maybe has some cool little pop outs and pull outs and stuff like that, like your story took you a long time to craft. And
Right.
there's part of you in every single story that you write.
Exactly.
And that's what
Exactly.
sets your stories apart from someone else's. So your stories and your words are worth money. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that indie authors struggle with, and this is part of what this discussion just brings up for me, is when you talk about all the complexity that goes into a book and how much it costs to produce one and to
Mm-hmm.
do these cool things that we and create special editions and do all those things that we want to do. And when you have that, when you put all of that together, as an indie author, you need to not be afraid to charge
To
what that
charge
book
for
is
that.
actually worth. I mean, that book is actually worth something. And what we've seen from Kickstarter and other programs like
Mm-hmm.
that is that price is not what matters to readers. It matters a
No.
lot less to readers than you think. Like there
Right.
are some readers that are super price sensitive and they're Kindle Unlimited or Kobo Plus users and they burn through books like crazy. But there are book dragons like Stacey and me to a lesser extent, now that I look around my office, um, that that um that like I don't care what the book costs. What I care is whether I want that particular one or not. I'm looking right now at I've got an edition of one of the newer Dune books that I got from Kevin J.
Ooh.
Anderson, but I and got it signed by him. And because I know Kevin J. Anderson anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I got it from him. But what I liked about it was I got that book like 2 weeks before it went on sale, before everybody else had it, right?
Mm.
So I got it in advance. Now, does that matter now? No, if somebody sees on my shelf, they go, "Oh, I see that you have the latest Dune book," right?
Yeah.
Who cares? They don't know when I got it. They don't know unless they open it that it's signed
But
by
it
Kevin J.
means
Anderson.
something to
But it
you.
meant something to me because part of it
Yeah.
was an experience. Like I don't get to see Kevin J. Anderson all the time. So I was at a book signing, walked over to his table. I was signing books too, but I walked over to his table, said, "Hey, I want a copy of that." He signed it and said, "Here you go." And I went on my way, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so to me, it was an experience, it was a fun experience because I got to talk to Kevin again, got to spend a little time with him, and got to be in the same room at an event with him signing books. That's kind of cool. But like it doesn't like in the long run, does that mean anything to anyone? No, except for
Well,
me.
and see, that's the
But
thing that
I didn't care what that book cost at the time.
no.
I think it was $40,
Yeah.
and I just
I don't,
paid it.
and that's the
I
thing.
just
Like
paid it.
I think that's the thing about books in particular. It kind of comes back to what my best friend said about books, and that is that books are very social. Like it is a social thing.
Hmm.
And it is very much tied to feelings. I have several copies of The Lord of the Rings. I have different copies of it. One is my reading copy, and then a couple other copies are like just pretty on my shelf copies. And it's specifically because I have an emotional connection to that book. I also have emotional connections to Hunger Games, which is the more, a more recent, not a classic, right? And by any stretch of the magazine imagination, but like Susan Collins, when she wrote that book, I have some very specific stories that were going on in my own life at the time that I was reading that, and like ways that I discovered that book and the ways that that book was kind of like shared with me. And so I have a couple of copies of the first book of that, one that I lend out, one that I don't let anyone touch. Very specific. I have another book right here that I bought specifically because of you, Troy.
Oh, yes. Douglas
And
Adams.
yeah,
Yes.
the ultimate
The
guide to
ultimate
Hitchhiker's
Hitchhiker's
Guide
Guide to the
yeah,
to the
so and I
Galaxy.
I loved this copy and I thought, oh my gosh, I have a friend. And this was before you and I even started working together. But I was like, I have a friend that says that this is the best book in the world. And so I bought it. Haven't even cracked the spine. Like I thought it was
Oh,
beautiful. So
oh yeah.
and your tattoo of your
I
dolphins.
was going to say,
Yeah.
yeah, I have the
Yeah.
tattoo of the dolphins and the flower pot, and
Yeah.
then
So
yeah,
everything.
42, the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
yeah.
have so they had a Kickstarter for him, and like I have the audiobook of his life story that I got from the Kickstarter and things like that. That like to you, you may
Mhm.
listen to the story of Douglas Adams' life and be like,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting, man.
Yeah.
But it to me, it's a big deal. Like I went this weekend actually. So Holly and I on our way back, we stopped. It was the most beautiful thing. This place, this friend of hers works at, I believe it's called the Fairmont Sonoma, and
Oh,
something Sonoma, right?
okay.
And like spa, beautiful hotel that usually Holly and I are super eight about level, maybe a little above that if we're really feeling, swanky. And but this place was absolutely amazing, and stars go there all the time. So Bo and Jeff Bridges have been there. So of course we're talking about the dude, and they're looking at all my stuff, and things like that. But anyway, and I actually taught the bartenders how to make a Caucasian dog, which was really fun. But anyway, so
I can't
because
believe you
me,
call them that.
I just jump right in there, right? So but anyway, but it was super cool because I have a connection because of the Big Lebowski and the dude. I feel a connection to Jeff Bridges and to that. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about Jeff coming in and talking to the staff and things like that, like that just makes my heart happy. Is
Yeah.
there, but a lot of people would be like, who cares? That's the stupidest movie on the planet, right? So but we have this, and this is we talked about this when we talked about AI books and that people
Hmm.
being worried about them and stuff like that, is that books are a social thing, and movies are a social thing, to where
Hmm.
like I love the John Wick series. Holly hates them. She's like,
Oh
there's no
yeah, my
story.
husband loves them.
She's like, there's no story. And I'm like, there is a story. He took his dog. That was his symbol of hope. She goes, that's the whole story. It's in one scene. The whole rest of it is a bunch of killing around that story. And I'm like, okay, you're not wrong. But anyway, uh, but it's cool. Look, he
But
kicks
it's
the guy in the
cool.
face. He
Yeah.
kicks the guy in the face. Anyway, it's kind of like me in kung fu movies. She doesn't like that's not her thing, right? Um, but what's funny about that is people have a connection to like these things that we share.
Hmm.
I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I'm this fan. I'm that fan. Whatever. And your fandom is what you connect over. And books are exactly the same way. I mean, I love Hunger Games. It's just one of my favorites, not because of the same reason that you have, but because the Hunger Games, the first book, is so well crafted in the start. It is like a perfect lesson on world building for
Right.
authors.
Right.
Like I cannot write a better lesson than that, than just show you this chapter one and dissect it a little bit and say, this is how you show us your world without telling us about it.
Hmm.
We learn about that world through, oh, it's just beautiful.
It's a
But anyway,
beautiful. Yeah,
but
it's like all the stars aligned with that one. But
yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
feel the same
But
way.
anyway,
Like books, but that's the thing. I think that authors sometimes here's the thing. I think authors, when they get to the end of the publishing road and they hit publish on that book, there's a couple of things that happen. I think it's an exhausting, sometimes overwhelming uh moment, in that they see this, like, the end of this project kind of just all of a sudden happen, right? Like it's just like all of a
mhm,
sudden, like it happens. It's compounded when they get the actual physical book in their hands and they touch it for the
mhm.
first time. But it is very much one of those moments where there's a lot of mixed emotions. I've seen authors cry. I've had authors cry when we hit publish. I've had authors just go, okay, great, and like nothing happens. But but it is a huge, like, there's this huge overwhelming moment of like realizing all of this stuff that I have been like 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 building for the, what, however long they worked on that book, has just happened to come to an end with the hit of a click of a button on publish. And it's just kind of a weird, it's almost like when you get tires on your car. You spend hundreds of dollars and there's nothing pretty about it. You just have tires on your
Oh.
car. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. But the thing of it is, there is something, there is a tangible thing. And I think that
Hmm.
what I was really kind of worried about, and I think the reason I wanted to even talk about this in the first place, is because I think a lot of times readers fail to appreciate, because like, this is what the moment that I realized I wanted to talk about this was when I was standing in that Costco and I was looking at that Chanel book, and I was looking at like the 50 other people that were like combing through the books, right? And they were just like, I was just watching them, and I was watching my best friend, who, by the way, loves books, right? Like, she's devours them, but she's like going through all the books and she's flipping through them, and I'm flipping books over and I'm looking at the price and I'm flipping to the copyright page and I'm looking over at like the contributors, and I'm like, and I'm thinking about all these people, and it almost brought me to tears, because I was looking at all these other people, these readers, who were just like, and like setting books aside, like it was like, oh well, this is like, and I was kind of like going,
Hmm.
do you not understand how beautiful of a product this is? Like, I wanted to like yell and say, stop. Do you guys understand how much heart, soul, emotion, feelings? No, it's not just the authors, it's the editors. We editors become so passionate when we get our hands and
Hmm.
our emotions and feelings into the book. I mean, you're working on some really deep projects that honestly,
Oh,
like,
man.
you're yeah, they're
Yeah.
it's like you put your heart into it, even when it's something you don't even completely agree with, but you can get behind the author and understand what they're going through.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's amazing. We have an author that Troy and I, we've talked about a couple times, and he's in the midst of like writing a story, a series that actually tiptoes around an IP that literally is going to get him in so much trouble. He is so passionate about what he does and what he's writing that he's willing to risk being sued, because
Hmm.
he is so excited about what he's writing, and he's talked to lawyers. We've all told him, like, you are walking a very fine line, and it's a dangerous line, and he knows it, but he doesn't care. Like, he literally wrote he wrote a letter to an agent last, like, he was so excited to write this letter to this agent, who is the agent for one of his favorite authors, who works with, this particular, conglomerate. Anyway, he was so excited to send this letter off, he forgot to put his return address on it.
Oh, no.
He was so excited. But like, that's the thing that I'm trying to say. Like, when you look at books and you think, oh, that's a, toss, it's so, it's why Fahrenheit 451 hits me so hard, because you've got
Hmm.
these firefighters that are burning books, and it's not just that they're burning paper, it's that they're burning like the words of these people, and that
Well,
it's so important to understand and appreciate that.
what it is what they're burning is the concept of the whole idea that you can experience what you have not experienced, and you
Mm-hmm.
can understand things you would not otherwise understand through the consuming the words that someone else has written.
Right,
The one
exactly.
guy that we're working with, it's such a deep project. And one of the reasons, first of all, I have mad respect for this guy, even though I don't agree with him 100% on a lot of
Mm-hmm.
issues, because he's coming at it with 20 some years, 30 years of experience in this field working with people. Now, there are things that he says that I disagree with because our foundational belief systems are different.
Right.
right? And it's actually perfectly okay. But there are other things that he says that I'm like, I wish I had heard someone say this to me 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because it could have literally changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't that's not necessarily what I would want to happen now. Looking back at 2020,
Right.
hindsight and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. There's very few things that I would change, but there are some things that I would change. And some of those would have been influenced by work like his had I read it sooner. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, it didn't exist until right now, at this moment. This guy has an incredible message that applies to a lot of people. And this is the way he's going to get the furthest reach out of it, is by
Mm-hmm.
publishing a book. He can only speak in person to so many people, but he can reach tons of people through a book and literally
Exactly.
change lives. I
Right.
mean, like that's, and so when we see things like people banning books and burning books and whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to argue
I
about
don't want to argue
which
about the
books.
politics of, yeah,
I don't want to argue about which books are banned, because the problem that I has is, if you can ban one, you
you
can
can
ban them
ban
all.
all.
So
It's
the books that
slippery
you
slopes.
love,
It's a
it's a
slippery
very
slope.
slippery slope, because we've seen it play out in
Right.
societies before. So it's not like this is the first time.
No.
And never has the side that was banning the books been on the right side of history.
Right.
So if you're thinking that, oh, these books are an exception, and by banning books, I'm not talking about you saying, I don't want these books in my house. But when you're
Right.
talking about banning them altogether, that's a whole
Right.
different thing, from public spaces, things like that. I mean, anyway,
Right.
don't want to go too far down that road, but except to say that the point is that what you're banning is not the words in that book. It's not even the ideas in that book. It's the freedom to discuss what is inside that book. And there
Mm-hmm.
are times I think that we have done ourselves a terrible disservice by teaching our children and even ourselves to not discuss religion and politics at family gatherings and things like that. Because
Mm-hmm.
the truth is, the only way you're going to learn more about those things is to see it from someone else's point of view.
Or I mean, really, and that's really kind of like my philosophy from the get-go. The whole reason I decided to be part of this industry in the beginning in the first place was because, again, it's I don't want to be silenced. I don't want to I know what it feels like to be silenced. I know what it feels like to be told that what I have to say is not valuable enough to be heard. And 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 I don't believe that that is the way that we learn and grow as a compassionate society. We have to express ourselves, and we have to be willing to listen to those expressions. It's funny, I love listening to opposing voices. Sometimes they infuriate me. Sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, shut up, like come on. But at the same time, I do tend to like listening to them, so that I can see if there's somebody or something in there that I can understand. It's one of the reasons why I do follow true crime and like listen to the interviews of these killers and things, is because I want to believe that somewhere inside there is a rational human being. And I realize that sometimes there isn't, but for the most part, I believe that there's rationality behind motivations, and whether those
Mhm.
rationalities make sense to me or not is irrelevant at that point. It's really more or less a curiosity as to why someone does and says and acts the way that they do. And really, in all of society, the way that we become a much richer society is to be able to, like you said, discuss. And there's too much in this life that is available for any one person to experience. And the only way that we can really come together and have those compassionate and empathetic discussions is if we share those ideas in books. And
Mhm.
like you said, it's how those ideas kind of get to a bigger audience. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just love it. Mary
Well, not,
Shelley.
oh,
Oh, I'll bring this up real quick.
yep.
Um, Mary Shelley Wollstonecraft. She was named after her mother, who was, I think, a reporter or she was some kind of writer. And she married a scientist. He taught at a university, and Mary, young Mary, was kind of like tutored by her father to think scientifically about things. And this is about the time that they were understanding or becoming to understand electricity. And of course, there's her love affair with Percy Shelley and like their friendship with Lord Byron and everything that led to her writing of Frankenstein. But her passion and love for her and respect for her parents, and then her curiosity about electricity and what it could possibly do to reanimate human tissue, came from her father, and it came from like this experience. And she, of course, at the time that she wrote that story, it was a dare basically. And Lord Byron is, they were probably having some kind of orgy or whatever at that mansion, and they ended up daring her to do write the story, so she did. But anyway, what's crazy about that whole thing, and the thing that's amazing, is that she wouldn't have written that had she not been challenged by those men. And then also
Mhm.
she had to have that published under a different name for a very long time because she was a female, and females were not
Mhm.
taken seriously and at the time. But she became the mother of, or the, kind of the mother of Gothic horror because of, her influence on the genre. What's amazing to me about that is I have multiple versions of Frankenstein, and we have multiple versions of like that story being told. I mean, there's even a new one I think that just came out on Netflix recently that I've been told is actually absolutely beautiful, and I need to go watch it. But um, I'm one of the things that it's just interesting to me is that this is an author who probably had no idea that her words were going to impact society so thoroughly and so widespread. Edgar Allan Poe's another one. Like he
Mhm.
died a pauper, guys, but like his words, they've really affected a lot of us for a very long time. They still do. I love many of his poems and many of his short stories. They hit me hard. It's interesting to me how many authors might be sitting out there right now going, well, this is a lot of work, and there's a lot to do, and there's so many moving parts, and there's so much I don't understand, and I don't know it all, and this is just too hard, and they give up. And I almost had an author recently do that, right? Like he got my bid
Mhm.
and he said, this is just too much money. I guess I'm just not cut out to be an author because I just don't have that kind of money. And that literally, it like ripped my heart out and like slammed it on the ground. Of course, I called the guy back, and Troy and I, we worked out ways that we could probably help the guy at least get the book out. We want this guy. Now, does that mean we're going to be working for free? No, but it also doesn't mean like we're willing to do things to kind of make things work for this guy. And that's kind of what I'm hoping this two part like appreciation for and understanding, the nuances of book design, and then also understanding the juggling of all these cats, like it's worth it. I guess that's my
Mhm.
whole thing, is it's
Yeah,
worth
the
it.
value is it's worth it. And I mean, we think about people like, the most adapted sci-fi writer ever is Philip K. Dick,
Yeah.
right? Who died in 1978, and the first movie based on one of his stories came out in 1982.
Yeah.
He didn't even live to see the impact that his work would have, but it's had a huge
Mhm.
impact on the world and a huge impact on the movie industry and a huge impact on bringing sci-fi to a new to a new audience,
Exactly.
right? And he had no idea. And many of us may have no idea what will
Who,
happen with our words
yeah.
after we're gone. It's worth it. The other thing I was going to say when you were talking about the why is I was
Yeah.
like, we need to have, we almost need to do a podcast on motivation
Yeah.
and just talk about motives because here's the thing, and this is what's always fascinating to me is psychologically, bad guys do not think that they're bad.
No.
Here's the thing. What they're trying to do is solve a problem that they haven't found another solution for.
Mm-hmm.
And they think Like, and how many times have you seen a movie, a heist movie, where they're like, one more score. I need to
Mm-hmm.
just take this one more score. It's going to solve all my problems, and then I'll be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that score ever solve all their problems?
Nope.
Usually not. Are they usually out of there? Usually no, they are not. Like, it does
Case in
not
point, the
necessarily
Saint.
end well.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But the idea behind it is that to them, it is very logical that they do this thing. And
Mm-hmm.
what's funny is we as viewers and readers watch and read those things. And to us, it also becomes a very logical thing because we
Mm-hmm.
can follow their thinking and we understand, oh, this guy who's a bad guy is not necessarily a bad guy. He's just trying to do something that makes total sense to him,
Right. Which
right?
is one of the
And
reasons
that's
why I
our
think a lot of villain stories and heist stories actually get a lot of, like, we follow them because it's like, oh, yeah, and you can cheer,
mhm.
you can find yourself cheering on the bad guys in those movies.
Well, and here's the thing too, is that if we're honest and we know ourselves, we also know that we have bad parts and dark
Oh
parts
yeah.
of ourselves. And what we like to do is to understand that, first of all, that dark part is actually fairly normal, and
Mm-hmm.
that the things that we do as a result of that sometimes really do make sense in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, we like to think, I am not crazy, right? This thing that I'm doing, it's not absolutely nuts, right? And there are times when we do think that, but it's especially as authors. Oh my goodness, if you don't think you're nuts for being an author, please tell me how you
Tell
have gotten
what
to
is
this
the
point
yeah.
where this ritual, where it is not absolutely nuts to do the things that we do.
I actually
There have
I
been,
would worry about an author who would think that way. I would think that they maybe were a little bit psychopathic if they thought that. I would
yeah,
worry
I
about their
mean,
sanity.
yeah, because this is, I mean, look, when we talk about all the moving parts and stuff, literally, this is a crazy industry that changes sometimes between every 2 to 5 years. There are major changes in this
Oh
industry.
my gosh.
And that's
Just
why
in
I
the
don't
last
worry
year we've
about
had
AI
multiple.
coming on
Mm-mm.
as the next thing that is the next challenge, because I'm like, guys, we get challenged, you know, constantly,
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Because I was just filling out this interview for this group that, wanted to interview me. And so I was pulling up a pre-interview thing. And it was really interesting because they were talking about what things would you have done differently? And, when you make a living as a writer, what are the things you think about? And I'm like, the problem is, it's not a problem to follow the right formula and business plan of the moment and make a living as a writer. Like, you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are formulas, there's business plans that work. The problem is keeping doing it because those business plans and things change all the time.
Right.
So doing it once and making a living for a year or so is no big deal. When Vincent and I were looking back at our lives and the careers that we've had, like, we look back at it and go, the thing is, sustaining it is the hard part, not doing it. Sustaining it is the hard
Mm-hmm.
part. And you're going to have down years, you're going to have up years, and that's the way it's going to work. And we've talked about that before, on this podcast before. But I mean, this is the hardest part about this, is the staying power and the
Right.
ability to do it without literally just at some point throwing up your hands and quitting. Like, since we got back from Vegas, I've just had all these opportunities come along to talk to people about money making things and I'm like, it 6 months ago would have been so easy to quit. It
Yeah.
would have been so easy to quit. But not quitting now means that opportunities are here.
Yeah. And
I mean,
that's funny.
it's
I
just
mean,
crazy.
I thought about quitting 2 times last week.
Oh, I
I
thought
mean,
about it last week. I'm like,
like, oh
Holly's like, are you serious? I'm like, when I say I
no.
want to quit, I'm always serious right at that moment. At that moment, I am dead serious. I'm quitting. Look, Walmart's hiring, whatever. They're hiring holiday help. I can quit for 3 months and then come back to this. It'll be fine.
It would be
You know what I
fine.
mean? Like, I'm always serious about quitting, but at the same time, I
Mm.
always know that I'm not going to quit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can't. I'm in that is a way that I am broken and I can't quit, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But believe me, like if you are a newer author and you think, oh man, I wish I could be like those career guys and not think about quitting.
Oh, they
Oh my
quit.
God,
They quit all the
please,
time.
please. First of all, I see people that quit that actually do quit all the
Right?
time.
Well, they
Like they
do.
actually do quit and they go back to a regular job or they become a realtor or maybe they go
Hmm.
back into the law or whatever it is that they came
Hmm.
out of, right? Um, but I see that happen all the time, but I also see people that are like, I am going to quit this business. If things do not change, I'm going to quit. And 5 years later, I'm talking to them in a bar and they say, if things don't change, I'm going to quit.
Gonna quit.
You
Oh,
know, I
it's
mean,
it's funny.
ah,
I think this is the kind of thing that we as humans kind of like we all go through with everything that we do. Like this is not just I don't think this is just a
oh no,
publishing thing. Like my husband, bless his heart, he's a diesel mechanic. He's been when I first met him, well, the first our first date, I went to his house and I walked past him, didn't see him as I was walking up to the house. And he thought it was funny that I just walked right past him, but I didn't see him. In my defense, he was sitting in the engine compartment of a big block Chevy and he was rebuilding the carburetor. So he was sitting in this thing and he was just like, he watched me walk by. And, you know, this guy's been playing with engines since he was old enough to hold a wrench, and he's taught my kids to be the same way. And there are many, 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 many days where the guy is, I mean, he's been doing this now for 40 some odd years and he's tired and um, he's worn down by the politics of, a job. And there's always like the nuances of management and dealing with employees and customers and all that stuff. And there are many days where he's just like, I want to quit. I need to
hmm
quit. But like it's what he knows, it's what he's really good at. And I think that even if he quit tomorrow and I retired the man and he started working, for us, which is what he's going to end up doing probably in his retirement in the near future. But like he's still going to find him. I'm still going to find the man in an engine compartment
hmm
because it's what
absolutely.
he knows and he loves. And it's kind of like the thing about writers. It's kind of like how you said, I do this because if I don't, I will die. It's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing. I think that we are here. It's like me. I have to work with authors or I will die. I I can't quit because there are people that are depending on me. Like there's people that won't
hmm
publish their book unless I help them do it. And I
hmm
can't live with myself if I don't help them. And
hmm
it's the kind of thing that I think we all kind of have to have a moment. Now, if you don't have that kind of passion for what you're doing, then I think it's time for you
Why
to
are you
switch
listening to this
careers. Yeah.
podcast?
Well, not only that, it's like if you're in any job that you've got, right? Like if you don't have that kind of
Yeah.
passion for what you're doing, uh, change careers. Like do
Well, yeah, I
something
mean, well,
like
and I mean, let me caveat that by saying, if you can only write part-time because you have a day job and
that's
it's something
fine.
you just have to do and
That's
you're not
fine.
passionate about it, that's fine. I mean, because you are still pursuing your passion, even if
Right.
you're pursuing it part-time or as a hobby or whatever, because you
Right.
can use, but there is something I believe there's something that all people were built to do, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of your purpose here on this earth, whatever that may be for you.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and but you have a purpose. You have something that you were designed to do, and you should be doing that.
Right.
I'm going to use the example. I'm going to tell a little bit of Holly's
Oh
story, my
yeah.
partner
Okay.
Holly's story, out of kind of out of school, but I'm not going to tell too much of it,
Right.
too much detail of it, except to say that she was a dental hygienist for 20 some years.
Mm.
Went to school. Now, this how passionate she was she went to school with two children, one of them under 2 years old and still nursing,
Oh my
and did a
gosh.
5 year Bachelor of Science degree in. So she is not a dental, like the dental hygienist that cleans your teeth. She is the one that's like the dentist's right-hand man with a 5 year
Hmm.
medical degree with internships, the whole deal. Did
Hmm.
that with as a single mother with small children.
Wow.
Went to school and did that. Did that for 20 some years. Long story, end of a really long marriage, relatively long marriage. And then ended up getting cancer, which is a cancer that's actually caused by stress. Super fascinating part two about that
Wow.
particular type of cancer. But it's very curable. So she goes through all her treatment for a couple of years, gets cured, all that kind of stuff, and goes to work as a corrections officer in a prison because it's the exact same job as being a dental hygienist. It's about education. It's about the psychology of how people think and getting them to do things. How often has your dental hygienist gotten you to floss? Well, okay, maybe not floss, but I mean, let's not go to extremes here.
I
But
do.
it's gotten you to like brush your teeth differently or use a different
Yeah.
toothbrush or a different toothpaste, or it's gotten you even to pay attention to certain things about your mouth. Like when she first met me, she was like, you have that one place where you always have a bleeding gum or always have gum disease, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's always the same spot. Every dentist tells me about it. Every time I go to the dentist, they tell me I have great teeth. Your gums right here are tough, do something about that. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And she goes, here's the deal. And she told me one technique about the way I brush my teeth, and it solved that problem, right? Because it's all about education and psychology. Nobody had told me to do it that way. I'd never been told that before. She told it to me, and I'm like, oh, wow, that freaking works, right? But it's the same mentality of basically you're educating people and you're treating people like human beings and meeting them where they are and getting them
Hmm.
to do things that you want them to do. And so she is not the CO that goes in there with her taser and her gun and, as she says, her A-frame kick and kicks some butt, right?
Right.
No, she raises her mom voice and tells them what to do, and they respond to her
Hmm.
because it's the exact same thing. Now, here's the thing, though. She was built for this type of thing, but she is still licensed as a dental hygienist in 3 states and keeps up that license every year because the things she was built to do are exactly the same,
Right.
right? So she's not going to give up that license, just like she's going to stay and retire in the job that she's in now.
That's funny.
You know?
My husband's aunt who raised him for part of his life, she is a nurse of like she was like a nurse for like 40 some odd years in LA and the ER in LA. Like imagine
Oof.
what yeah.
Yikes.
She's worked in the burn
Yeah.
center. She's done it all,
Yeah.
folks. She's seen it all. But she was a charge nurse, like she was the floor nurse, and she was like the one, basically the one in charge running those ERs. And she's got her degree and she's got her license. She retired a couple years ago. She retired like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And when she retired, she's kept her license up.
Hmm.
Even though she's retired, she still does her CEs and she still goes in and gets her license renewed every year. She when she renewed it this year, now she's like 70. I don't know if she's yet 70. She might be encroaching on 70 this year. And I was like, when she called me and said, "Oh, I'm on my way, I'm on my way to go get my license renewed." And I'm like, "You're renewing your license?" She goes, "Oh yeah, my church needs a licensed nurse to be there on staff." And I figured I might as well. And I was like thinking about that as you were talking about Holly and keeping her license, and like the way we kind of like do what we want to do because we're passionate about what we
Hmm.
do and we know like it's so true. So like I think that as writers, I mean, I know more writers that tend to go writing when they retire, but a really good example of another writer that just recently reached back out to me. I've done a couple books of his, and we're now moving into book 3. He's finishing off the series of books that his father started. Now, this guy he's an older gentleman. He just he just got his clean bill of, like, he's in remission from cancer. Like, he battled cancer the last couple years, and he just got his, like, okay, you don't have to have any more cancer meds after December. Like, he is like so excited, and he's just finishing up the third book, final book in this series that his father started, about this well-known man who, and his wife, and the wife is kind of like his focus. Like, she's like, and I need to talk to you about this because the audiobook, he wants to do the audiobook. But anyway, um so this is a really, really amazing true story about this couple. And what's funny is he's passionate. I don't think he would have been able to die without finishing this book. I think he,
Hmm.
I think his body, I think he literally was like, I have to fight this. I have to win. I have to beat this cancer because I have to write this story. It's kind of amazing to me how people come to those things that they're really, 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 really passionate about. And we do those things because we have to. And I think, like, it reminds me all the time about how you're like, I do this because if I don't, I'll die. And I think
Yeah.
it's true. I think it's just kind of like the
I
way we
think,
are.
well, and this is the thing, like I have seen writers of varying economic status, I'll just say,
Yeah.
right? That continue to write well into their 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, what would I be retiring from?
Right.
And what would I retire to?
Two. Right.
Like, I do for a living what people retire and then do,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
like, what would I retire from? And, like, how would I retire from telling stories, which has been a central part of my life for so
So
long? Like,
long. Right.
how would I even, what else would I even function doing? You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, this is, so it doesn't even matter. Like, you're like, it doesn't matter your social status. James Patterson is still writing every damn day.
He's still
And
writing.
dude,
He's
and
like
you know what I mean?
ancient.
And Stephen King, same thing. Does
Right.
he need to write another book
Nope.
for his economic stability? No. He
No.
doesn't need to. Neither does James Patterson. Neither do a lot of these guys, and they're still doing the same thing. And why do we
Right.
do it? It has zero to do with the money. I mean, the money is nice, right? But you get to a certain point when you're 80 some years old, like, what money do you need? Holly and I moved into this house. This is our retirement plan, right? This is just it for us, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't care if I get a movie deal. I don't think I want to move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to move. Maybe I'll just buy this old people neighborhood that I'm in. Maybe I'll just buy the neighborhood if I get a movie deal, right? I'll just own the place. But I mean, like, I don't like, I don't want to go any, I don't want to do anything. You know what I mean? I don't want
Yeah.
anything fancy. I don't want to do anything I like that. That doesn't matter. I would just travel. I would just write
Yeah.
while I travel in that particular case. But like, I don't see myself stopping doing the things that I'm doing. But
Right.
also, like, the money is like, I want a certain amount of money, but like, what I need is relative, my needs are relatively low,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And that, and
I mean,
that's
and that's not
that's
my motive.
that's
You know,
really,
so
I
when
mean, and
we
that's
talk
why I'm
about this guy
saying,
that we're going to work something out for editing or whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, the
yeah.
reason I want to do that is I want his book to get into the world. And yeah, I can't do it for free because I'm not in that position yet
Right. Right.
in my career trajectory, right? I have to make something, but I'm passionate about it. Like the one guy that we helped kind of rewrite a large
Oh,
part of his
yeah.
book and did it at a rate that,
It's
was
kind of a,
not
it's kind of
it was
a
not
shame.
enough. It was not enough to do the things that we did for that guy. But
No.
why did we do it? Because he wasn't able to do it anymore and he wanted to get this into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I'm in.
Yeah.
Then I'm in because this is the thing that I'm passionate about. So like, if when it comes to story, like I am big, big, big on getting my own stuff into the world, but helping other people get theirs into the world as
Yeah.
well.
It's a big
And
part of
no
what I
matter
do.
how complicated this industry gets, no matter how crazy it gets, because that's what matters.
Right.
You know,
And
it
it does
really is.
matter. And it does matter. So, yeah. So, I guess overall, I just wanted everybody to understand and know, like, going into the holiday season, it's it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to kind of kind of feel like what we do is kind of insignificant. We tend to like diminish a little bit our lights a little
Hmm.
bit. Sometimes we put ourselves aside and we tend to, think more of other people, which we very much should. We should always be doing that. But not by sacrificing what value we have to offer. And that's kind of what I wanted to make sure everybody who's within earshot of this podcast, whoever you are, I want you to understand that what you have to say is valuable. It's like what Troy said, your words really do matter. Your story does matter. And what you do matters. And there are people out there, and Troy and I are not the only ones that appreciate the level of work that goes into creating a product that we consume, which is not only the books, the actual physical book, but the words inside the book. Um,
Hmm.
the heart and soul that went into each one of those sentences. We really understand and know the moving pieces that are there and how it all came to fruition, and we appreciate that. Thank you for what you do. If you're an author that can hear me, thank you. Because I am very much in awe of what you do. I'm still sitting on my meager little book that I cannot seem to get my butt in gear to write. So anytime I meet an author that's like, I've got this book and I finished it, I'm like, how did you do it? It's amazing. So I'm very, very proud of you. So just like what Troy's son and finishing that race and doing that triathlon, any author that gets their book done and published, my hat's off to you. Like, well done. Well done. Keep going. Do it again. Get better at it. It gets easier, but don't ever panic and don't ever stop because you think I can't figure it out. There's people like Troy and I that are doing this constantly, and we're constantly working in this business to make sure that we can give our authors the edge and teach you guys exactly what you need to know so that you can do this in a way that makes sense for you and that you can have fun doing it, like what Johnny Truant talks about. It's like making it fun, and we want you to make it fun. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So again, if you guys have any questions or you haven't already liked, subscribe, follow, like, please follow us. We are eager and willing to talk your ears off and kind of help you feel good about this crazy world and that this crazy job that we've
Yes.
all chosen to do. we it's always helpful to be with people in your tribe and understand that you're not the only crazy person. We got a bunch of us. There's a bunch of us. But anyway, do you have any other additional insights that you want to share, Sir Troy, the
Oh,
expert
I think,
serial killer expert?
yeah, serial killer expert. Yes. No, I mean, I think we, like you said, we're really passionate about this, about all of it. And we
Mm-hmm.
really are here for you. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to ever to make the mistake that I'm not a person that would listen to what you have to say and try to encourage you in the things that you're doing. Even if I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're not quite ready maybe to make this a career or to do certain things along your path, I still want you to understand that your story matters
Right.
and that it what we're doing is worth doing. Go into the arts. It's the most powerful thing in the world. And as we head into the holiday season, we just remember that really this season really is all about stories.
Mm-hmm.
It
It
really
is.
is all about stories. And so just keep doing what you're doing. If you're thinking about quitting, understand that Stacey and I both thought about quitting last week. So
Multiple times.
Oh,
Don't quit.
don't think that you're you're that there's some kind of exemption status you reach at a certain
And
point.
by the way, the grass
You
is
know,
not greener on the other side of the septic tank, just like Irma Bombeck said.
no,
It is not.
exactly. Exactly. There's just a different kind of poop over there.
Yeah,
But anyway,
exactly.
there's just it's all
Not worth
anyway.
that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
for
so
sure.
yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys. Keep writing, keep telling your stories, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.
See you, everybody.